Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Model Evolution. This week, I'd like to look at Genestealer Cults. I'm a very big fan of the Tyranids in Warhammer 40K, and the Genestealers kind of go hand in hand with them. So the look of their models are very mixed with alien and human aesthetics. They're a fairly smaller line, as they've only really gotten a codex in 7th edition, but as you can see here, they had a lot of models come out in Rogue Trader that are pretty cool looking. So I thought today we'd take a look at some of the most famous units and compare them to the older models from the 80s. Let's start with the Patriarch. This is a very interesting unit to me. It's supposed to be the founding Genestealer of the invasion. This iteration of the Patriarch came out in 2016 in the Deathwatch Overkill box, and I do think it looks quite good, but we're going to see some of the older ones, and I think they look a little bit better. This Patriarch is from 1989, and it's from Rogue Trader. I gotta say, I kind of like the idea behind this one a little bit more. The new Patriarch looks like he's ready for battle, but the old Patriarch looks like he's fat and bloated and can't get out of his seat. I honestly kind of like this version better. I think it's just a little cooler, gives him more of a Godfather type of feeling, which is I think exactly what a Patriarch is. This is the earliest Genestealer cult model I could find, and it is supposed to be a Patriarch. I think maybe the best thing about this model is the gold chain around his neck. It seems like the old Patriarch models were just supposed to be mob bosses or something. Next, let's look at the Magus. These are kind of the second in command of the Genestealer cults. Since these ones aren't fully Genestealer, they can infiltrate society a little better, influence politics, create religion, stuff like that. I think this model looks very cool. I think it's pretty well done. They've always kept this long kind of hooded cape, and this one from 2019 is pretty good, no complaints. This Magus came out in 2016 along with that Patriarch we just saw. This one's pose might be a little bit better. You can imagine him giving a speech to the humans of whatever hive world he's on, convincing them to give up their lives for the incoming fleet, or whatever he wants really. Again, the ultra turtleneck here looks really nice. This Magus is from 1989. In fact, there's a couple different ones from 1989. This one looks pretty nice. I really like his staff, and the paint scheme is pretty awesome. I don't know how they got yin yang on there. This Magus is pretty great too. I'm not sure why he has flames, but it definitely looks sick. This is another one from 1989 from Rogue Trader. Super blurry image, but you can see the shape of it really is similar to what we have today. Let's look at the namesake of the army next, the Genestealers. These Genestealers came out in 2023. Now technically you can only run Purestrain Genestealers in Genestealer Cults, but I don't think anybody should give you a hard time if you use these brand new models. Big fan of these, got 20 of them myself. The claws are dangerously sharp, and all the different poses look really good. For all the purists out there, this is the Purestrain Genestealer from 2016 from that same Deathwatch box. We're going to come back to that box pretty often. It was the first modern interpretation of the Genestealer cults since 1989. This one looks good, and I will say I like how this one looks like it's wearing a suit of armor in a way. Perhaps it's just the paint scheme, but I have always liked that these guys looked a little more clothed than the previous models. I haven't seen this model before, but apparently this is a Genestealer from Space Hulk 5th edition. I count 5 appendages and no base. That's a pretty crazy model. This is a very classic Genestealer from 2005. These are the ones that I'm talking about. They need a little bit of clothes. Very cool model. I personally wouldn't have painted it so white, but I think that the shape of it looks pretty good. Here's another Genestealer from Space Hulk. I really like the claws on these. And again, I like that he's kind of wearing a suit of armor in this, or some kind of clothing. I think it looks really good. This Purestrain Genestealer is also from 1989. Very interesting pose here. The head is a little bit different, but I can see what they were going for, and they definitely kept a similar shape in the recent models. I'm not sure if this is the exact same model, maybe just different posing, maybe just different angle. But honestly, Genestealers have kept a pretty similar profile this whole time. Let's talk about the hybrids next. I find the hybrids extremely interesting as there's multiple different generations of them. The first generation hybrids come directly from the Patriarch. They're considered the dumbest and the clumsiest and the most expendable of the generations of Genestealer cults. The second generation are a little bit more advanced. They are more unique, less animalistic, but they still carry too much of the Genestealer DNA to blend into their surroundings or blend into their populations. The third generation here are called true hybrids, and they're the most human-like. These ones can infiltrate the military or the places of power, and they can just wait until it's time to spring a trap. These hybrid metamorphs came out in 7th edition. I like how some of these have lictor-like qualities to them. I've also always liked these acolyte hybrids a lot, especially the guy with the buzzer saw. These neophyte hybrids are also from 7th edition, 2016. Super cool looking. All the different weapon options these guys have are great, I think. These acolyte hybrids are from 2016, still from that Death Watch box we keep coming back to. Again, these are the ones that aren't considered to be the true hybrids, whereas the neophytes are considered to be more human-like and can blend in and sneak into society. The Genestealer hybrids from 1989 didn't seem to have a specific unit, but they do have lots of unique and cool-looking models. I'll try and show off as many as I can in the time as possible. I think it's really interesting how a lot of these different models seem to have different levels of evolution. Like, this model looks very human looking, and I wouldn't even be able to tell he belongs to the Genestealer cults. This guy almost looks like he's supposed to be some kind of squat. Brood Brothers, if you're not aware, are just Cadian models that you can get an upgrade sprue for to make them look like Genestealer cults and use them in your Genestealer cult army. These ones look pretty good, although they really are just the regular poses with different heads and slightly different accessories. These ones from 2016 put onto 2003 Cadian shock troop bodies are kind of the classic ones that I'm the most used to. I think I really like the bandanas and the goggles that some of them wear because they kind of had to hide their look. Even the true hybrids weren't perfectly human looking. I said it earlier, but Genestealer cults are one of the more unique factions because they have a lot of models from 1989 in Rogue Trader. But it was only in 2016 that we got an inkling of them becoming a full faction with the Death Watch Overkill box. And then later in 2016, they got their own codex in 7th edition. That was where we got some of their most iconic stuff, like the vehicles, the Rock Grinder, and the Goliath truck. I think you see these pretty often in most Genestealer armies. And then in 8th edition, they also got a pretty good upgrade with their army selection. The Aberrants have always been a favorite of mine. I really like the look of these models. And the vehicles like the Ridge Runner and the Jackals are really cool to me too. Their kind of minor design is really cool, and I think it's interesting. I wish they would go a little further with it. Not all Genestealers can be minors, but I get what they were going for. The most recent model that the Genestealer cults got this edition was the Benefictus. Really like this model. I wish I could get it for my Tyranid army. He looks a lot like a Magus with a blown up brain on the back of him. And apparently his psychic powers are equal to a las cannon, so not somebody you want to mess with. Thank you very much for looking at the Genestealer cult model line with me. I hope you enjoyed and appreciated some of the evolution that these guys have gone through. I know they're huge fans of evolution, so hopefully we can appreciate it just a little bit. Leave any questions or comments down below, and please consider subscribing for more content like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and take care.